beginning. Good morning. It is Monday, May 1st, and it's math time. So we will talk more about the science project. I did post a little bit of a lesson this morning. Hopefully you guys have been looking at those sites and picking out a science project, but maybe not because you just had specials. But after this class, make sure you go back on and go to the science project ideas and pick out a science project. And then at 12:10, I'll help you with the science project. And at 2 o'clock, I'll help you with the science project. So come back in at those times. Right now we're going to do math. And I did send some of the math from last week back. Here's the big thing that you need to learn this time with the math unit. What they want you to learn to do is to handle data, know how to read and interpret data, know how to represent it in a chart, and what they're talking about. So when they ask you a question about like, what does the data mean? You just kind of have to always be asking yourself, what is this thing I'm looking at and what is it telling me? I have to do that every day in real life in the newspaper. Whenever I see a chart or a graph or a table, I need to say like, what is this representing? I have to look at it closely to see what the labels are and what the units are and what it's showing me, okay? Is your future so bright you have to wear shades, Nora?
What?
Have you ever heard that comment? My future's so bright I have to wear shades, which are sunglasses.
No, never.
Well, that just means you're so cool and your future is so great that you have to wear sunglasses because otherwise it's blinding. All right, so let's take a look at today's assignment.
Oh no, I just don't want anyone to see my eyes.
You just don't want what?
Anyone to see my eyes.
Is it stressing your eyes out? I got new glasses that are supposed to help with the blue light. I don't know if they really do or not. So here we go.
Blue blocker glasses.
Yeah, representing and interpreting data. So we skipped the pretest. Then last week we did this one together, the fraction of the fair, where we started looking at line plots. Last week you were supposed to do experimental line plots. And today and tomorrow we're doing plot twists. May 2nd, it's due tomorrow. So let's take a look at this lesson, 1203, plot twists. Here it is. So it starts out and it says that we're going to learn to create a line plot with a data set using fractions. Now, the trick about the fractions this time is you're going to have to convert your fractions a little bit because you're going to have to be comparing fourths and eighths. And if it says 2/4 and then it says, or 2/8 and then it says 1/4, you need to know that those are the same number. It's just a different name for the same number. Remember, if you cut a cake into 4 pieces, and then you decide to cut it into eighths, you just take one of those pieces, cut it in half. It's the same amount, but instead of 1/4, it's now 2/8. So that's really what you're looking at this time. As you move through the 8 pages of this lesson, first of all, they remind you about equivalent fractions. So you need to know equivalent fractions. 1/2 is the same as 4/8 because you can times the top and the bottom number by the same number to get that. So 4 times 1 is 4, the top number, the numerator. 2 times 4 is 8, that's the denominator. You know that 6/8, if you take it and divide the 6 in half, it'll be 3. If you divide the 8 in half, it'll be 4. So it's the same as 3/4. If you take 1/4 and you double the top, double the bottom, it becomes 2/8. So remembering our equivalent fractions is going to help us get through this lesson. So again, they give you a whole bunch of numbers. And the first step needs to be looking at the range of numbers. In other words, looking for the smallest and the biggest number. So if you look at this data set, I see 1/2 here. Do I see anything smaller than 1/2? I don't. So if it were me, I'd probably circle 1/2. And then what's the biggest number here? 3, I think, is the biggest number. I don't see 3 and something, so I think that's it. Then I need to read it. Saul planted 24 tomato plants. He varied the amount of sunlight and water the plants got and kept track of their growth. Here are the measurements he collected after 2 weeks of growth. So this is the height of the tomato plant in inches. So some of the plants only grew 1/2 an inch. Others grew 3 inches. That's a lot taller. Step 1, to create a line plot, we start by drawing a straight line with an arrow at each end. We add a title and a label, height of a tomato plants in inches. Next, we must find the smallest and largest amounts in the data. So we have 1/2 an inch. Some of the plants grew only 1/2 an inch. Some of them grew 3 inches. And we know that these are all tomato plants. So if I wanted to see how many tomato plants, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 and 7 is 14, and 7 more is 21, 22, 23, 24 plants. He had a lot of tomatoes, didn't he? So here I put my smallest amount and my biggest amount. Then I want to look and see how many pieces did they break each of those inches into. So each inch, they broke it definitely into halves. Did they break it into quarters? Nope. So all I have to do is divide these into halves. So I know that I'm going to want 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3 on here. So I'm going to split that up. Step 2 is break it up, just like we just talked about, into the amounts. Now there's definitely one in your homework where it has both quarters and eighths. Just ignore the quarters at first and put in the eighths, and then maybe you need to go back and add the quarters. I'll help you with that later on. Step 3, we must use the recorded data to create the line plot. So we have to go through all of those numbers and add them to the plot. With each one, I'd cross it off. 1/2, put an X. If you want to, you could go do all the 1/2s, put another X, the 1/2, put another X, 1/2, put another X, 1/2, put another half, or you can go in order. So I can do the 1/2, and then I can go to 2.5 and put an X. But for each of these numbers, I want to cross it off and be really careful. One thing you can do is count how many X's you have and make sure that it's the same as the number of tomato plants at the end. Now let's take a look. Now we can answer some questions. What's the most common height? So most common means there's going to be the most of them at that height. So if we go back here and we look, it looks like we have the most at 1/2 of an inch. What's the next question? Yeah. What is the difference between the tallest and shortest tomato plant? Well, in this case, I'm going to want to look at the tallest tomato plant back here is 3 inches. The shortest is 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to go 3 inches minus 1/2 inch to get the difference, and it's 2.5 inches. So here, if I added an inch to 1/2, that would be 1.5. Added another inch, it would be 2.5, and a half more, 2.5 inches. That's how I find the difference. If they said how many inches in all, then I'd have to add up all of these. If they said what was the smallest tomato plant, 1/2 an inch tall. If they said what was the tallest, 3 inches tall. I don't add them up unless they say, like, what was the height of all the tall plants added together? So you have to be careful what they're asking you. All right, let's go to the next page. Saul planted 12 corn stalks, gave each plant a different amount of sunlight. After 4 weeks, he measured their heights. So the same kind of thing, but fewer corn stalks. Here's the data set. We look for the smallest number, which in this case is, do you see it? Anybody?
1/4.
1/4 an inch, or no, foot, 1/4 of a foot. What's the tallest plant? Guys see it? 2 3/4.
2 3.
Yes, 2 3/4. That's right, Amadi. So here's my 1/4. Here's my 2 3/4. Now I need to add the fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 2/4, 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, 2 2/4, 2 3/4. And that's all the higher I have to go. I don't have to go to 3 because it's not there. Step 2, we add all of those. Step 3, we have to plot all of these or put the X's on. Oops, where'd it go? There it is. Put the X's on. And step 4, we're ready to answer questions about it. We can answer questions about the data. What is the total height of all the corn stalks? Now, this is a pain in the neck, honestly. You have to very carefully go through and multiply 2 times 1/4, which is 2 quarters, plus 2 times 1 2/4. Oh, no, 1 times it. Then 2 times 1 3/4, 2, and you have to write them subtotals and then add them all together. It's a pain. It's a pain, but you have to do it very carefully. Here we have Saul planting grass seeds and varying how much water. Again, it's the height of the grass in inches, same steps. I think you guys kind of have that down. Here is a practice sheet that you can do. This is not the assignment. This is one to practice on. Let's practice on this one together right now a little bit, just so you'll know what to do when you get to the final one. So create a line plot representing the following data, then answer the questions below. The first thing I'm going to do is look at my smallest amount up here and my largest. I immediately see 1/4. Oops, let's get in the drawing. 1/4, which I don't think there's anything smaller, is there? I don't think so. And then what's my biggest? I see 2 3/4. Do I see 3? I don't think so. So I think 2 3/4 is my biggest. So then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put in 1/4 here. 1/4. And I'm just going to keep going actually. So I'm going to go to the next thing and put 2/4, which is the same as 1/2. And then I'm going to put 3/4. And then I'm going to put 1. Then I'm going to put 1 1/4. Then I'm going to put 1 2/4. Then I'm going to put 1 3/4. And then I'm going to put 2. Then I'm going to put 2 1/4. It's not thrilling work, but it happens. Then I'm going to put 2 2/4. Then I'm going to put 2 3/4. And that's my biggest amount. So I don't have to worry anymore. Now I got to plot all of these. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to plot my 2. And I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to have my X and I'm going to go draw it out, put it on 2. And I'm just going to use it like this because I don't want to go between the 2 tools. 2 2/4, 2/4, chink, chink. I like to go in order just to be really careful. 1 1/4, so I don't forget anybody. 2 1/4. Brink, brink. 1 3/4. Right there. 1. Rank, rank. 1/4. Wow, they're very spread out right now. And 2 1/4. I'm a third of the way done. Oh, I got 2 of those. Nice. 2 3/4. I know this is boring to watch me do, but you guys can also be opening this up and doing it. 2/4. Great. 1 3/4. And what I'd like to show you right now is the way you do math is you can't rush through it, especially on these things, because you'll make a mistake. 2 3/4. And I'm hoping they don't ask us the total because it's going to take some work. 2/4. Ooh, 3 of those. Wonder who will win. 2 3/4 is the rainfall. 2 3/4. I heard that we had a record for a hot day on Friday. 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Here it is. Well, there's quite a few of those too. 1/4. Oh, I'm down to my last row, last full row. 2 1/4. 2 1/4. 3 of those. We've got a tie. 3. 3. Oh, 2. I forgot to put 3 on here, and I need 3 because 3 is actually the biggest. So I didn't see that. I did not see that. Let me get rid of that one because that one was wrong. Okay. 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Here it is. Ooh. 1 3/4. You guys should have gotten on my case about that. Oh, we've got a winner. 1 3/4 is our winner. 3/4. It's the first 3/4. 3. Another 3. How did I not see that? 1. Last row. 3/4. Swish 1/4. 2 3/4. 1 3/4. Oh, that's still the winner. 3. Boy, there are 3 3s on there that I didn't see somehow. 3/4. Did you guys see that one? And 1/4. Okay, we're ready to answer data. So let me just double check. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 doubled is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 6 or 7, 28, 29. I should have 30 X's. 4 and 7, that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's a good thing to do to check and make sure you got all of them. If you count all the numbers and there's 30 and then count all the numbers again. How many days did it rain? 1 3/4 inches. 1 3/4 inches, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. And of course, label it because I'm always bugging you about that. What is the difference between the largest amount of rainfall, 3, and the smallest, 1/4? Well, all I have to do is go 3 minus the largest minus the smallest will tell me the difference. So 3 minus 1/4 leaves 2 3/4. And I need to label it with the unit, which is inches, I believe, of rain. Yep, up here it says inches. I can write the word inches, but I also know that 2 little dots means inches. In total, how much rain fell in September? Okay, folks, this is the hard one where you have to take each number and times it by the number that's up here. So I'm going to do it right now. 1/4 times how many? 4 equals 4/4 or 1 whole. Okay, and then I'm going to put a comma. And then I'm going to go to the next one, which is 2/4 times 3. 2/4 times 3 equals 6/4. Remember, when you multiply a fraction, you can multiply right across the top. So the 3 is like 3/1, which is equal to 1 2/4 or 1/2, 1 1/2. Okay. The third one is 3/4 times 3 equals 9/4. Remember, I'm just timesing across the top, which is the same as 2 or 8/4. And you have 1/4 left over. Okay. Plus, and I could put commas or pluses here, but I'm just putting commas so that I can do this later. My next one, so I did the first one, the second one, the third one, 3/4. Now I'm up to 1 inch. 1 inch times 2 equals 2. Okay. 1 1/4. That one's just all by itself. So we'll just put a comma there. 1 1/4. And then 1 3/4. And I'm just adding these all up. I'd probably, if I were doing this by hand, I'd probably do it over the top of each other so it didn't get confusing. Times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, there's 6 of those. Times 6 equals, I know that I can multiply the whole numbers. 1 times 6 is 6. And then I can multiply the fraction. 3 times 6 is 18/4. So 4 goes into 18. 16, 4 times, and with 2/4, 4 1/2. 4 plus 6 is 10 1/2 inches. Okay. Whew, that was 1 3/4. Let's go on to, I just have a 2 for that. And then, and one thing you can do is put the totals below them. I actually think that works pretty well. Here's what I mean by that. If I did it in a different, well, I'll do it in a different color in a minute. 2 1/4. 2 1/4 times 3 equals 6 3/4. And then 2 3/4 is the next one. 2 3/4 times 1, 2, 3, 4 equals 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12/4. 8 12/4. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 8 3 is 11. Equals 11. And then the last one is 3 times 3, which is 9. So 9. Now let me go back and add up these numbers. So we have 1 plus 1 1/2 plus, oops, sorry, I meant plus So you have to do this very carefully, making sure that you're keeping track of everything. So that was the 2 quarters, 1 1/2. 3/4 times 3 was 2 1/4. So plus 2 1/4. 2 1/4 plus 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 1/4. And that one I didn't have to times because there was only one of them. Plus 1 3/4 times 6 was 10. Oh, and a half. 10 1/2. Plus 2. That one was just all by itself. Oops. Plus 2 1/4 times 3, which was 6 3/4. 6 3/4. Plus 2 3/4 times 4 was 8 12/4, which was 11. 11 plus 9. Now I have to add it all up. So 9 and 11 is 20. 26 3/4. I think I'd probably use a calculator for this. But let me just keep a running total. So I'm going to go from the front. 1 plus 1 1/2 is 2 1/2. Plus 2 1/4. Let's make the halves into fourths. So 1/2 is the same as 2 fourths. So 2 1/4 plus 2 2/4 equals 2 3/4. Oh no, it equals 4 3/4. Sorry. 4 3/4 plus 2 equals 6 3/4 plus 1 1/4 equals 7 4/4 or 8 plus 10 1/2 equals 18 1/2 plus 2 is 20 1/2 plus 6 is 26 1/2 plus that 3/4. So now we have to change our 1/2 back into fourths. So let's make it 2 fourths. 26 2/4 plus 3/4 equals 26 5/4, which is the same as 27 1/4. And then plus 11 is 38 1/4. Plus 9 more is 47 1/4 is what I got. And what I would probably do is double check that on a calculator because it's a really long computation. You'd need to double check that. 27 1/4. And the last thing is to add your label, which is inches of rain in September. All right, friends. That is how to carefully go through the problem. Now, remember that that's just a practice one for you. And as you continue to work through the practice problems, which I would recommend you do that today, you're going to come to the final problem, which is a completely different worksheet. So on page 8, they just go through more of the same kind of problems. It's plot twists. So here's the one where you need to download it with Kami, or you need to do it from the booklet. And you can see I already opened this one, select. And then use Kami to work this out. So it's a little bit smaller data set, which is nice. We've got distance of ski trails. So each one of these is the length of the ski trail. What is the total number of ski trails? Who can tell me how you would solve that? Does anybody see how you would solve that one? Christian, can you see how to solve that one? Amadi? How would you solve what is the total number of ski trails? What would you count? Nora? Nora, Christian, what would you guys count? Sasha? Each one of these numbers represents a ski trail. So you would have to count each number. So 2 1/4 would be 1 ski trail. 3 1/4 would be 2 ski trails. 2 7/8 would be a 3rd ski trail. Each one is the distance of the ski trail. So you're going to count all of those, and there are 12 of the ski trails.
12 ski trails.
What is the difference between the longest and the shortest? You're going to have to find the longest and the shortest.
Longest ski trail minus shortest ski trail equals
Exactly.
1.
What is the total length of all the ski trails that are 2 7/8 miles long? So once you've plotted it and
Add
you've got
up all
that
of
distance,
all
you'll
of
add them
the-
up. Yes. Okay, and then the last one says, Sam says the longest ski trail is more than 3 times the length of the shortest ski trail. Eli says it's less. Who's correct? Explain. So we got to see if Eli or Sam are right. Eli, do you think you're right? You're going to have to figure it out. Okay, that's not due till tomorrow. But